I wonder. Alright folks, this one is just gonna be weird and nonsensical, but yeah, I just wanted to do it. I am going to sort every incarnation of the Doctor from Doctor Who into a Hogwarts house, because when you've got your major fandoms, sometimes it's fun to just smash them together. And I guarantee I'm going to get some pushback and some argument on some of these for a variety of reasons. But we're going all the way through from the first Doctor, William Hartnell, all the way up through the current Doctor, Jodie Whittaker, and we are going to sort them into one of 4 Hogwarts houses: Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, Gryffindor, and my own house, Slytherin. Let's start with the first Doctor, who, this was one of the easier ones. The first Doctor is a Ravenclaw. Now, something that is going to come up repeatedly as I go through these is I do have to take into account with some of these Doctors how they changed over the course of their run. Some didn't change much at all, some did change notably. And so the question becomes, is what we saw towards the beginning, is that truer to the house they should be in, or is what we saw later truer to the house that they should be in? In the case of the first Doctor, I'm going to say that we got to sort him based off how he started. And he started very Ravenclaw, very focused on the science, what he could learn, and actually going out of his way to ensure that they stay on the planet that they're on, just so he can study and learn more about it. That happened in the very second story. That happened in the Daleks. He has a disregard for other people's concerns, and he's focused on getting his data. Now, he softens and he becomes more empathetic as the time goes on, but that is a Ravenclaw softening, not, someone who was forcing themselves into Ravenclaw, showing their true form. He softened over time, but still very much a Ravenclaw. So, we come to the second Doctor, and I have a feeling most people would put second Doctor as a Hufflepuff. I'm going to make an argument that he's a Slytherin. And here's why. The vast majority of his Hufflepuff tendencies are an affectation. And that's not headcanon, that's how the guy operates. The bumbling, oh my giddy aunt, and all of that, he does that so that he is underestimated or unnoticed or disregarded by the people who he's trying to stop. He doesn't want them to take him seriously. He wants them to think that he is an idiot, but he's not. You want proof of that? Look at his first story. Look at Power of the Daleks, or look at the animated recreation of Power of the Daleks. He is very calculating. He's still a little weird, still a little quirky, but there's a lot of silence from him. He's watching, he's observing, he's figuring out how to operate. And he soon, as time goes on, adopts this bumbling, lovable persona. But underneath it, he's always watching, he's always observing, he's always calculating, he's always figuring out how to twist the situation to the direction he wants it. Now, does that mean the Hufflepuff tendencies that he masked behind were just created out of whole cloth and there's no basis behind them? No. Absolutely not. Yeah, I think you could make an argument that he's a bit like Harry Potter, where Harry Potter, when I'm really showing my nerd stuff, when the Sorting Hat got put on him, he could have very easily been put into Slytherin, but he chose Gryffindor. I think that if the Sorting Hat was put onto the second Doctor, if he chose Hufflepuff, it would put him there. But I think in his heart of hearts, he's really a Slytherin. At least that's my take on him. So, Third Doctor's easy. Third Doctor's a Gryffindor, all the way. Just, thundering in with sort of a taking charge and prepared to throw down, and just being suave and in command and always on top of things and being very self-assured of himself. He's very Gryffindor, top to bottom. And it just suits him. And I mean, John Pertwee's just great for that, because he exudes that level of confidence, that level of self-assuredness, and that is very Gryffindor. Fourth Doctor was hard because the Fourth Doctor is weird, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with you, and I could make an argument for him in almost any house. So ultimately, in deciding what to do with the Fourth Doctor, I look to Harry Potter and go, is there any character that's any kind of like equivalent to him at all, anything even close that I can use as a guide? And yeah, I would say that he is weird and doesn't fit in too many places, in very much the same way that Luna Lovegood is weird and doesn't fit too many places. And if Luna's going to be put in Ravenclaw, I'm going to say that's probably the best fit for the Fourth Doctor as well. Like I said, I'm not super committed on this because I could make an argument for almost any house for him. I would like my backup on this would be Hufflepuff, but I'm going Ravenclaw with him, but like the weird, quirky end of Ravenclaw, the Luna Lovegood end of Ravenclaw, as opposed to the First Doctor, hard science end of it. All right, Fifth Doctor, he's a Slytherin. And again, I feel like if you go superficial, you might think Hufflepuff, because especially to look at him, like, really? No, he's a Slytherin. Fifth Doctor is possibly the most mercenary, the most pragmatic, the quickest to turn to true violence, because you might say the Third Doctor because he had the Venusian Aikido, but that was generally non-fatal. That was to lay out guards on their backs. The Fifth Doctor shot Omega. The Fifth Doctor ground gold dust into the chest of a Cyberman to suffocate it. The Fifth Doctor devised a poison gas to kill the Silurians and the Sea Devils. He is ruthless. He doesn't present himself that way. He presents himself very, very calm, very collected, very gentlemanly. He's brutal. And in a way that to me just reads Slytherin, because when push comes to shove, if he feels he doesn't have the luxury of the moral high ground, he will abandon it very quickly to take the road that will just get the job done. And that is very Slytherin. Sixth Doctor. This one would be tricky if it wasn't for Big Finish, and that's kind of the case with almost everything regarding the Sixth Doctor. Big Finish makes everything easier. He's a Gryffindor. And again, a lot of that, much like the Third Doctor, just has to come with the level of self-assuredness he has, the level of confidence, the level of bluster. Like, he's prepared to go into a situation and goes, I'm sure everything's going to be fine, and just strides on in there. He's not cautious. He's not calculated. He's not even particularly concerned most of the time. He's just like, it'll be fine because I'm me. And that's kind of a Gryffindor thing. Yeah. Seventh Doctor, this was another easy one. Seventh Doctor is a Slytherin. Now, unlike, say, when we talked the First Doctor and I went by how he initially appeared as how I was going to sort him and sort of took his shift as a softening of him, we got the opposite going on with the Seventh. The Seventh Doctor initially presents himself very bumbling, but by the time we get to something like, say, Remembrance of the Daleks, he has revealed himself to be very calculating, very manipulative, and very willing to set things up that will have very harsh outcomes. He's prepared to do those things, he's willing to do those things, and he will execute those things. And again, it's the pragmatism, it's the mercenary nature. It is, I am going to use you because that is going to get me the outcome I need. I'm not going to try and negotiate with you. I'm not going to try and talk you into something. I'm going to get you to do what I need you to do through whatever means I am going to need to do it. That's pretty dang Slytherin. Eighth Doctor, we get a Gryffindor again. Again, it's the swagger, it's the self-assuredness, it's the I've got this and everything will be fine sort of thing that he's got going on. And it's interesting with the Eighth Doctor because it's actually a little bit toned down, especially if you're going to compare to the the third or the sixth, but it's still there. He's still got that level of swagger. He's still got that level of self-assuredness and self-confidence. So that brings us to the one that is the biggest guesswork for me because I know the least about him. And that's the War Doctor. And this one's really hard because I haven't taken in any of the extra material with the War Doctor yet. I haven't listened to any of the War Doctor audios yet. I really want to, but the box sets are expensive, man. I haven't read any of the books, etc. So what I know from him only comes from Day of the Doctor, but I know that Day of the Doctor is him basically sick of what he's been doing up to that point, and I don't have what he was doing up to that point actually in front of me as a template. However, given what the Eighth Doctor was, and sort of accepting that what he was not going to work in the Time War, and that he had to go at a very far end from what he had been in that incarnation, instinctively I'm going to say that's Slytherin. Because if you're going to fight a war that you need to win, not just be on the right side of, but win, you get a Slytherin. You get somebody who will do whatever it takes. And whether or not he actually did that, again, I don't know. I haven't listened to or read enough of the material to know for certain. But that certainly in Night of the Doctor seemed to be the intent behind him. So, like I said, that one's the most blind guess I've got to lay out there. But we'll move on to the Ninth Doctor. And finally, we got ourselves a Hufflepuff. It took a while. And like I said, I'm sure some will argue Second Doctor was. I'm stand by what I said. But Ninth Doctor, yeah, he's a Hufflepuff. He's trying to be harder than he is. He's trying to put up a front a bit. But he is awash in empathy, in needing to try and help in whatever way he is able to. Needing the connections again, needing his friendships, and not in a camaraderie sort of Gryffindor way. He needs those connections. And the importance of those and the prioritizing of those over that, like the decision he makes in the parting of ways when said, are you coward or murderer? He says coward every time. That's the Hufflepuff choice. And it's wonderful. So now, 10th Doctor. 10th Doctor's a Gryffindor. Again, it's the cockiness, it's the swagger. And 10th Doctor especially, until he got taken down a peg a few times towards the tail end of his run, very self-assured of himself. He was always certain that he had the moral high ground and the absolute moral authority to do what he was going to do. He considered himself to be the highest authority. He just knew, and not in the Slytherin, I'm just better than you way, although he dipped into that a tiny bit towards the end of his run. But in the Gryffindor, I have the superior position. I'm defending the superior place. I have the superior moral values way. Because Slytherins can get senses of superiority because they just think they're legitimately better. Gryffindors can get senses of superiority because they think they're always on the right side of whatever's going on. So it's a moral superiority as opposed to a personal one. And the 10th Doctor had that all over the place. And that brings us to the 11th Doctor. Another Hufflepuff. I debated on him because I did find myself wondering if, like with the Second Doctor, is his quirkiness, is the bow tie and the sort of silliness and the jammy dodgers and the fez, are these affectations? But the thing is, he doesn't really do those in front of his enemies or the people he's trying to figure out. He does those with his friends. The fez is something he does with the people who he loves. That's just who he is. Very much the 11th Doctor is what you see is what you get. It's just what you get is kind of weird. But he's very much a focus on his relationships and his connections. And he knows that those are important. Now, he's got his dark moments, and he certainly tries to go solo for a little bit and gets roped back in by the whole impossible girl thing. And his approach to that, he's trying to be a bit more Ravenclaw. He's trying to just have it be about the mystery, but he gets invested in the person because the 11th Doctor is a people person. The 11th Doctor is a Hufflepuff. As for the 12th Doctor, well, you've got yourself a Ravenclaw. And much like the first Doctor, he is a Ravenclaw who softens over time. Because starting out, he knows what he's here to do. He knows, what information he needs to get, how to figure it out. He gets very focused on mysteries and solving stuff. I mean, that's the entire premise of Listen. He softens over time. He comes to better appreciate his relationships to the point that he is prepared to wreck everything in Hellbent, but we won't go down that path. So he gets very invested in his relationships as time goes on, but I still say Ravenclaw's the better fit. Even though that by the end his big claim is, just it's kind, and that is his goal. And I do believe he's softened to that point, but even underneath that, there's still that core of wanting to just get the information and figure out what is going on. That's part of why he keeps Missy. Yes, it's his friend. Yes, there's empathy, but there's also we have to try this. If we don't run this experiment, we'll never know. And he cannot stop himself from just poking at it and seeing what the reaction is. And that's pretty dang Ravenclaw. And that brings us to the 13th Doctor, and she's a Huffle. She is adorably Hufflepuff. She's just thrilled to be with her friends and to be traveling and to see what there is to see. When push comes to shove, she'll make her stands. She will stand her ground, and she'll know what she's fighting for and fight if she needs to. But that's not why she's here. She's here to have fun, see new things, and be with her friends. She's a Huffle at heart. She can tap into other stuff when she needs to, as most of the Doctors do. But that's where her heart is. We've got a Hufflepuff Doctor right now. And it's interesting to me that, at least to my way of thinking, we didn't start getting Huffle Doctors until the modern era. So that gives us 3 Ravenclaws, 3 Hufflepuffs, 4 Gryffindors, 4 Slytherins. That's how I sorted the Doctors. I suspect people are going to disagree with me. How would you sort the Doctors into the various houses of Hogwarts? Whatever your sorting hat says, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. If you wish to support me, there's also my Patreon down there, plus a link to my PayPal if you want to help in a one-time sort of capacity. It helps me cover my bills. There's also the like button. It's a big help. Go ahead and hit that. Subscribe if you haven't. Spread this around. It's fun, right? Show it to people. There's other links. Tons of stuff. You also don't have to do it. I'd appreciate it, but at the end of the day, you're the council. I'm just running these very ridiculous meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned.